ça ne marche pas. Ouais, je peux commencer? Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I am Kris, and I want to talk to you about why we are here. So first of all, it's still pretty early. I want to wake up the audience. So I'm just going to ask you some questions. Like, who is here in this space for the memes? I want to see some hands. Who's here for the memes? Great. Who's here for the meme coins? Okay. Who's here for the Lambos? Just a few, but it's not really the right season, but who knows, maybe it gets better. Who's here for the community, for the vibes? A lot of hands, I love it. Okay, then I have a bonus question. Who loves the Matrix? Okay, a lot of hands. Who loves the Matrix sequels? Yeah, still, okay, we'll have to talk afterwards, but okay. This is just an intro, but that's because I want to talk about why we are here. And so, 3 years ago, I gave this presentation here at EthCC, and it was called Mad as Hell. And I feel today everyone truly is angry, and not in a good way. It's not really what I meant. There's like a lot of polarization, and I was angry like 3 years ago about a lot of things in the world. Now I'm not that angry anymore. I'm awake. I'm very awake. And I think we all should be. Because every single line of code, everything you do, matters. So I want to give this talk to make sure that you are very accountable and aware of the impact of everything that you do, everything that you did, everything you will do. So I am just a node in a network, but I want to tell you my story because maybe some of this will resonate. So there was this guy at Permissionless, Eric Voorhees, you might have heard of him at some point, and he claimed that he was the oldest person in crypto. That was not true. This is me. So I was born in 1980, and I witnessed the dawn of the global internet, and it was epic. And for me, that was permissionless. That was just so beautiful to see everything I could find, everything I could think of for my computer that I put together myself, I could find on the internet, little apps, little programs, and there were like a lot of anons helping me out to build the things and to find the things that I wanted. So there are still echoes of this today. You can find it on like deep subreddits where people just go without any, very voluntarily give you long explanations, or on these forums where the Rudy from HP is going to tell you like, hey, I'm the official representative, this is the solution. It never is. But then there's this one guy who said you have to uninstall this one driver, and then you do this other thing, and then you deinstall that, and then it's going to work, and it does. These people are still around, and it's for these people that I do it. That's what I love. And so when I was like much younger, like 23 or something, I wanted to work for Microsoft, because at the time, like Mac was a joke. I'm really sorry, but like I wanted to work for Microsoft, and I did. I worked there for about 5 years because I loved their idea of like for like a PC on everyone's desk, like realizing your potential. It was this dream. And I learned a lot there. I learned how you could really extract value out of your customer and bring as much value as possible to the shareholder, and how you could push everyone down so that you could go up. So I learned all of that there. It was beautiful. And so yeah, like I went some more into Silicon Valley corporations. I really went to the belly of the beast, and I got it all. I got a high salary, I got a beautiful company car, it was fast, it was beautiful. But then I burned out. And then I went into crypto, and so talking about a ride, that was a fast ride. That was something completely different. That was the adrenaline, apparently, I was looking for. So first I joined Swarm City, which is eons ago, and like we lost everything. There was the parity hack, and I continued working for a little bit as a volunteer because it was just like this visceral energy in this space. There were all these like radical cypherpunks, anarchists. We were going to build new systems. We were fighting what existed. It was beautiful. And then, like, yeah, after a while, I did need some money. I didn't need an income, and so I joined Give It. Like, income is a big word because we didn't have a lot of money, and I really learned there to like liberate myself from money and seeing that I didn't need a lot. So I arrived after this also at Gitcoin. This was like the opposite of the spectrum. Everything was like open source. Like coming from Microsoft, this was great. And then, you know, like these damn airdrops started to come. That was like the DeFi summer. And I got a bunch of gift tokens in the beginning. This was really weird. I didn't feel I deserved this. But then you get used to it, you know? And at some point I felt if I lived frugally, which I did, I could probably have retired. But yeah, you know, then stuff happened. And I lost it all. I lost all my savings. It was like a life-changing amount, and this was a very symbolic moment for me. Like, at one point, at the one hand, I was very angry that our world was still so centralized that just a few people could just pull this off and just like get away with all of this money, that this was why we needed to build. But at the same time, there was like this darker side of me, and that was, I had to confront this, and that was the fact that, like, yeah, my greed clashed with their greed. And that was the bad part. That was the thing that I had to, this hypocrisy that I had to confront. And so I went through this cycle twice. First from open OSS free internet to Microsoft, then strong values to today then, where it's all short-term value. So I'm personally ready for my third act. And I think this is my story, but I think we all have some variations of this story. And yeah, so I think it's time for a nervous breakthrough. I think that's where we are at today, all of us. So I believe that we need a mission, and for me, this mission is that we need to thrive. We need to thrive together. So it's first of all, like all of us, so that we can then help the world to thrive. That is the mission for me of Ethereum. So we need to sustain and grow this subculture. But we also need to be honest with ourselves. So we need to really acknowledge this and then mitigate so that we don't succumb to the greed that is all around us. So let's first define this problem space a little bit more. So probably know this movie, this guy, he was the one who said, greed is good. And yeah, I disagree. Like, greed is just real. It is there. And so for that reason, let's talk about the greed in the legacy world. Also, let's talk about the greed in our world. It's time to confront a little bit of our inner Moloch here. Because how can we build a new world if we don't know what we are up against? So this tweet kind of sums it up, and the TLDR is that we are becoming what we set out to fight. And we're at this critical juncture where we can either take over the world or this old world is going to take us over. And I don't think the odds are good. Success is not guaranteed. I define it as like 3 attack vectors that we have to be very aware of. And I just call them corporate, value, and addiction. And it's like fueling everything in the outside world, but it's also fueling our world. And we cannot be sloppy. Like, crypto is super fast, so we just cannot be. So if you go outside, if you still do that, like, you will probably like see that the world is not in such a great state. Like, the Western project is really failing. There's like interdependent catastrophes happening all over the world in a way that it hasn't been like witnessed in generations. So I think, like, I had like 1,000 slides here, but no time. But I think we all know, we just don't want to know. But it's horrible to watch. Like, we're in the stage of late-stage capitalism. All our systems are failing. And so I'll just give you like this quick, annoying reminder in some key numbers. Like, we've been bored to death with the 1%, but it's still good to talk about this. Like, 1% of the world currently owns, the wealthiest 1% owns 46% of all the wealth that exists. And the 50 poorest percentage owes less than 1%. This is bonkers. It's just like, we need to talk about this every day. A CEO makes currently 350 times as much as an average worker, and that's, again, just the average. Big Oil, which is just the 3 top biggest companies, made $220 billion in profits last year, where in Europe, because of the war and because of these oil prices, we had to pay about like 10 times as much for electricity, 10 times. So that's the reality. People lost their houses. There's about 3,000 billionaires who are declared as billionaires. I'm sure there's a lot more. And they own about $11 trillion. So just some fun numbers to think about. And meanwhile, we're investing in wars. That's what we're doing. So this is the spending all over the world. It's increasing. In total, we have 2.5 trillion in spending on wars. And it's all being driven by the biggest war economy on Earth, who is investing more than 1 trillion, and who is also running some nice proxy wars. So Europe is also very much impacted by this. And honestly, I think in 10 years from now, if nothing changes, Europe will look very differently. Also very much this very city, Brussels, that you are in right now. And all of this is the economy, of course. It's all driven by this company ethos, and if you haven't seen this movie, this documentary, which is on YouTube, I highly recommend it, The Corporation. And like for like almost everywhere in the world, starting with the US, companies are seen and treated as persons, like as human beings, and they compare it in a fun way with the characteristics of a psychopath, and that's how a corporation works. So they have all these characteristics, and I think we, in the blockchain world, have the same. We don't have companies, but we have DAOs. And I think this is the same, but on steroids. So that's what we're at. We don't take care at all of humans. That's not what we do. And so all of this together is also making this big gap between, like, you know, these cute little regens, like these activists who still believe to change the world, and then the degens and the companies and the corporations who are coming in and who are not even hiding it anymore. And it makes sense, like, you know, or they're all attracted by value. We all are, so how can we blame them? That's the tough part. So it is because we cannot no longer see the difference between value with a small v and big V value. And a big V value is the value, what is valuable to humans, and that is very different than a unit of value. A unit of value is something that we used to just like trade goods and to track our debt, and now we are trading the units themselves, and that's when it all really became very toxic. And then on top of this, now we have open, programmable, unstoppable money. And this makes it, of course, so much worse. And like all the energy is here, and it stays there. Like in the beginning, I was like, yeah, but we need this because we're fighting the system, But it's getting worse and worse. Everything remains here. There's a lot of information asymmetry, to put it politely, and everything is focused on the short-term gains. So the worst possible outcome, I think, and we're heading there, is that we will go to massive economic warfare, way more value extraction than we are already seeing in the world, and governments who will not really be able to regulate us will just also jump on this train. They will start hoarding this money, and is not looking good. So I don't think the market will figure it out, because greed is real, and I think this is the Trojan horse. We need to talk about this a lot. So there are solutions. I think we need to address this with mechanisms that realign incentives. We need these value units, but we cannot be consumed by them. We need to design for this greed. So a little shout out to Givit, who's working on GERVs. If you don't know it, check it out. But like, token engineering in general is so important, and we just need to reprogram ourselves. We are not capitalist creatures. We are social creatures, and if you then believe that the wealth of the group, of the community you belong to, is important, then the personal wealth is just a byproduct, and we can get there. It's just money as a means to an end. So I put this one as a separate attack vector because I think it's a really important one. If you, like, we are not living 1984, but we are living a brave new world. There was this experiment called Universe 25, and that's, I don't know in what year it happened, but it was like they created a mice Valhalla. So they put all these mice in this enormous labyrinth. They had room for like 1,000 mice. And they had everything. The only rule was that they could not leave. So they could do everything, and there were no predators, no disease. They got all the food. The only thing that they were missing was like 24/7 Netflix. And what happened? They became narcissistic, violent, and completely disengaged. So that's also where we are right now, we humans. We have never felt so lonely, so isolated. The algorithms are constantly feeding you content. Very often it's like quality content, and our attention is grabbed all the time. Like me making this presentation, putting a lot of tweets in, I was distracted all the time. You do not want to know. So we are all addicts. We're getting more and more addicted. We hyper-consume. We have supercomputers pointed at our brain. And the good ideas, these are drowned out by memes, by bots, and we are sedated. All our systems are offline. We are deep, deep in the matrix. The algorithms are winning. I think they already won. So I love this quote, which is a pretty old one. We cannot have a society in which, if two people wish to communicate, the only way that can happen is if it's financed by a third person who wishes to manipulate them. So we are part of the largest social engineering experiment in human history. People are angry, frustrated, they're depressed, and they are ready for blood. Together with the economic crisis that's happening right now, this is a powder keg, and I think this is way worse than the 30s. So we have a choice. I don't think that there's going to be like one entrepreneur, all-American hero, or a left-wing or a right-wing politician that is going to save us. I don't think no one can. I think we all can, together, because we are all one. But for this, we need to align, and I do think we need a mission. So, on that note, let's get to the thriving. I really believe it's easy with crypto, because crypto connects. That's what it's all about. So, we can give hope to the world, we can do this together, and we will. So, like I just gave you 3 attack vectors, let's talk about 3 antidotes. So this one to me is the most underestimated one to me. We truly are a subculture, and with subculture, we can talk about Ethereum, but I would say like all of blockchain world. We are a community, we exist because we're fighting the legacy world, we are activists, and we have the strongest weapon, we have unstoppable tech. So, social creatures is what we are. We are community seekers, we want to belong, even if you are like the most neurodivergent person in the world, we need other people. It is just something that we have to confront and address. And we proved this. We have done this already. Like we did the merge, and we're still going to surge and verge and purge and splurge. It's all coming, and it's a feat that no company could pull off. This is great, and it depends on favors. It depends on going the extra mile. And to me, this is not money-driven. Like the people who were the protocol builders, they are like historically were very, very much underpaid. This is culture-driven. This is all culture. This is a subculture, and we need to nurture this. So we need to be a community before we can actually serve the community. So on that note, like, let's stop the infighting. Like, your chain is not better than mine. Left crypto versus right crypto coordinations versus network states. Like, we all have our piece of the puzzle. All the systems are broken. We're here to fix it. Let's do it. All the rest is a waste of time. So let's DAO. Let's DAO or die. I changed my mind on this one quite a bit. DAOs are slow. They are messy. But you cannot build what you don't live. We have to practice what we preach. And then, like, at the same time, in order to make this work, we need to really nourish the people. We need to take care of the people. We need coaches. We need people. And then you will say, but yeah, that's not capital efficient, going with DAOs, etc. But I think it's just because we are paying people too much. Like, just pay, let's cut all these salaries like in half or more. Like, high salaries and DAOs are toxic. Like, it attracts the sociopaths, it drives out the geeks, the creators, the value bringers. We need more missionaries. We do not need the mercenaries. So we need to keep those geeks. And so how are we going to do this? We're not going to do it with like KPIs and GMV. That is just not going to happen. We need to bring value with a big V. Okay, so if you're like, okay, Kris, we need values and principles, but okay, do we all need to start on these manifestos? No, like just take what's already there. We have the Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace, just a one-pager, super simple. Or the Cypherpunk manifesto. These are 2 of them. And if you're like, why these? Well, we're in Web3. It's called Web3 for a reason. The web is what gets us out of this eternal samsara, this cycle of destruction of the oppressor versus the oppressed. This has never happened in the history of the world. We're more than connected than ever. This is super exciting. So we can do this. We have this technology that is unstoppable. So for that reason, I want to quickly also go over like the Cypherpunk manifesto, and this is just the points, the 7 points that Vitalik treats in his post, Let's Make Ethereum Cypherpunk Again. It's like, we don't have time to read, so just read these 7 points, memorize them, and you know everything that you need to know. So first of all, participation needs to be open. Everyone should be allowed to participate. We need to minimize dependence on just a single actor. Nobody can interfere with your freedom. This one is a very important one to me that I think is at the core of it all. Like open source, everything is built on open source. Like it's non-negotiable, and a lot of companies and organizations are sinning against this. Like it's difficult to fund, it's very frustrating when people steal your code, but the entire internet is built on open source. Everything is built on open source. So that's why we need a grant mechanism. This is why we need RetroPGF. And we need more people to speak up. I really believe this, but at the same time, the platforms need to be neutral. Ethereum as a product, as a technology, it should be neutral, so should Gitcoin and all of the others. We just need to keep shipping. This is an easy one, but yeah, some are sitting against it. I'm not gonna name names. I couldn't name names with all of these. And then, yeah, let's be positive some. This is very much linked to the open source one. We need to be very open and connected with the people around us. It's what we're building, it's who we are building for. So yeah, live by these, no exceptions allowed, and just chip. The other one here, the antidote against addiction for me is connection. So we have our community, we have our values, great, but still there's so much that we disagree on, even if you agree on the previous point I mentioned. And I think that's because we all come from very different backgrounds. We have our own knowledge, our own traumas, our own habits. And we can fix this by being aware, by taking the time. We need to unlearn, and we can do this by learning. We need to reconnect on 3 levels, on intellectual level, physical, and spiritual. So we need to learn from people far beyond and outside of this space. I'm sometimes really shocked seeing some very smart people tweet stuff, getting thousands of likes and being like, where do you live? Like, out of which bubble are you coming? So please hold salons, listen to podcasts, make podcasts, create Warpcast channels, communicate, connect. This is work. It is the work. We need to infuse our subculture constantly with existing knowledge and context, and we should also incentivize this. So I really love the concept of the degen and the regen drops that you get on Warpcast, and again, RPGF rounds are also good. If you have more ideas how we can like increase context and awareness, like please talk to me. I'm fascinated by this. And I'm just gonna like share some quick context and stuff that helped me in the past. It's different for everyone, but like these are some documentaries that are very relevant. Samsara, I mentioned this in a way before, everything is cyclical. Social Dilemma, still so relevant, it has the essence. The Century of the Self shows, like this is on YouTube, and it shows that everything started way earlier than you probably think. Like we are being manipulated in just being sheep for forever, and this is a great one. Then, yeah, so The Matrix, I put it on here, like this is the first one, we're deep in it. I think the sequels and the reboot are just already the Matrix being captured, that's my personal opinion. Sorry, not sorry. Fight Club, V for Vendetta, these are classics. I added Dark Waters, but most of the people don't know it, but I could just as well add Aaron Brockovich. I love just the stories of one person standing up against the entire system and winning. Like this is one of these stories, truly happened, you should watch it, it's in the US. Then series, if we're consuming content, watch some good stuff. If you've never worked in a company, watch Corporate. It's great satire and it tells you everything you need to know and need to be careful for. Enlightened, it has a special place in my heart, I'm gonna leave it at that. 6 Feet Under, it's a classic. I just added that one to annoy the bio accelerators in this space. Like, we're all going to die. Like, you have to accept this, and then we can just move on and actually build for the generations after us. So, little wink to that. Deal with it. Books, I loved The Light of Other Days. It's for me a beautiful analogy of everything that blockchain can bring to the world. It's what would happen if we live in a fully transparent world. I added Ayn Rand because I have a lot of sympathy with the libertarian spirit, with the power of the individual. I added The Dispossessed because I really believe that we're all connected and can achieve so much more together, and really true, but those two can be juxtaposed and live together. I would call myself a libertarian socialist. It is possible. So please, let's stop these ridiculous discussions. Walk Away is celebrating Burning Man spirit. I would also recommend it. Then these are just some links that inspired this talk. I put it here because it belongs under the connections. And this, all of this is just a conversation starter. It's just some books and things that popped up, but there's so much more. I want to see what inspires you. Create those Warpcast channels, create those tweets. Listen, absorb, take the time. So we are here. It's only day 2, and I think all of the people feel this energy. It's always inspiring. It's always too much. I think we should do this every week, not just like once a year. We should have permanent hubs everywhere. And on that note, like doing a little plug for the Commons Hub, which is just next door. If you step outside, you can see it. It's a beautiful place. And there are places like this popping up all over the world. I will share this online as well. This is a beautiful sheet with some of the various forums that you can have for local hubs. If it doesn't exist, seriously create one yourself. It's important. Apart from this, I would also say, just like in general, have that physical connection, like hug people. Like hugging people, it changed my life. If anyone wants a hug after, just come by. Then, talking about connection, you all need therapy, seriously. Like, I know I do. I need a lot. And I've had a lot. I've seen so many lousy decisions being taken because of ego, including myself. We need to be humble. We need to stay humble. Seriously, guys, you all just got lucky. And many people are also here because they are very and hyper aware of everything that's wrong in the world. This is very often caused by trauma. And so you need to address this. This is your dark side. This is the shadow side. You need to embrace this existential kink, and it's time to get kinky. And if you want to get kinky, like there's a session at 1:30 by Simona Pop. Go watch it. It is here. And it's time to deconstruct yourself, and then you can build. So all of this that I just discussed, these antidotes, this is what Vitalik calls the social layer. So we need to build holistically towards an open and free society. And we can enforce this gently when pure incentives don't work. And I think they don't work. So I think this is important. This is the degen to regen pipeline. It's right in front of us. We just have to do it. We just have to take the time. So I think we need to make Ethereum cool again. We need to make Ethereum great again. We need to counterattack with community, with values, with connection. This is the secret sauce. We need to thrive to survive. And then we will get the visionaries. We will get the strategists, the researchers. They will flock to us. And then we can start spreading our subculture. Then we can actually get the next billion. And once we succeed in this, then we can get out of this flywheel. Then we can change the playbook of mankind. It will get us to Mars and way further. We don't need Elon for that. It will get us to all the stars, and that's when the aliens will be like, okay, now we can talk. So it's your information, it's your marketplace, it's your assets. I want to see us build apps that add value. Like, really, let's start kicking out these middlemen for real. I want tech that serves us instead of enslaves us. I want us to treat public goods as holy goods. I want transparent voting. I want equal chances for all. I want housing for all. I want nurses, waste collectors, first responders to have the highest salaries. The world is upside down, and we are here to change this. So it's sometimes naive to believe that you can save the world, but it's also very naive to believe that you cannot change the world. We already did this. Look at everything that we've already done. So it's a dance, it's an evolution, and they're here amongst us, and we need to fight, so there's going to be some blood on the dance floor, but it's still a dance. So why are you here? For me, you're here to be aware, and you need to know your why. You need to have hope, and you need to spread it. I loved some of these quotes that I found on the interwebs. One of them is like, we are not born into this world, we are born out of this world. No one is free until we are all free, and we are all one. So let's integrate our Moloch. Greed is real, but we can all thrive together. So let's connect. Thank you.
Question or maybe someone.